It's time once again to go racing.
It does not get any better than this.
The pressure is really on now.
Yes, it's pole position. Lights out and we're racing in PSGL.
The first lap has been absolute chaos.
What an overtake.
Oh no!
I've never seen anything like it.
Side by side again. This will be settled right at the end.
Hello everybody and welcome along to PSGL Season 30 on the PlayStation tier. This is the F2 side and we go to round number 5 at the Hungarian for the Hungarian Grand Prix. This is basically Monaco but without the barriers. My name is Jess and joining me as per usual we have got Owen Wyatt. Owen, how you doing?
Jess, hello viewers, and yes, we're back after our week off and we're straight back into the F2 as Jess says in Hungary. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing where this title fight goes next.
So, welcome back everybody. Apologies about that. Discord decided to play up a little bit there as well. But we are here at Hungary for the Hungarian Grand Prix as well. 17 drivers on the circuit at the moment. 3 times on the board. Our first driver to set into the 114s was the last race winner, Tom, with a 114.6, and then Andrea crossed the line with a 115.0 as well. And since we had 4 different race winners this season, I think this season is going to continue to be very unpredictable.
Well, this is what we were saying, 4 different winners. Definitely potential for Santry to join that and make it 5 as Ricky goes fastest, followed by the man himself, Santry, in his Alfa Romeo. 2 second places now for him. It could easily have been 2 wins as well, and we'll see if we can get the potential out of that car tonight. And obviously Tom, you'd imagine, would be one of the favourites actually, since this is a track that is similar to Monaco, where he was so dominant in qualifying. And if he can make up for the mistake he made in the race there, perhaps there could be a second win in a row coming for him. But yes, the early pace setter is Santry, but we are yet to see how everyone else gets on. Of course, important to point out that Valentine isn't actually here, so it's a good chance to make up points. And Baraka will certainly be looking forward to seeing that as well, and it does mean that Valentine will need some big performances when he comes back.
Yeah, he does. And yeah, there's quite a few drivers that are missing tonight and quite a few reserves that couldn't make it. So that's why we only have 17 drivers on the grid as well. And yeah, Valentine's a man who usually likes getting pole positions, and we would expect him, if he was here, to get pole position around this track. But more people to get chances. I believe Nicolo is filling in for Valentine tonight. We've got Jax, who's filling in for one of the Alfa Romeos. I swear, I think I want to call him a full-time driver, but he's not. He's literally attended every single race as a reserve. Surely he'll be called up as full-time at some point, but he scored some decent points out there in the cars he's been, including his first win in Monaco. He didn't get a win, obviously, in France, but at least he scored one decent point as he is going to go into the pits now. Where is he in the championship? He is currently sitting 8th in the standings actually, so he's doing quite well. Other drivers are doing quite well in the standings as well to benefit from Valentine Devon as well. We got the likes of Dino, maybe Louis as well, who got a DNF, could do well, but he's not here tonight either. So yeah, could be a shake-up in the order tonight, and I have to say that double chicane will catch a lot of drivers out tonight, because a few people have been warned about the track limits there as well. They can extend it a little bit, and also they're probably prone to a few more spins as well. And this track's also prone to have changeable conditions as well, and if there's rain involved, then that could shake things up massively. But still, 14 drivers set lap times, 3 drivers yet to set lap times, with Yannick on his outlap on the medium tyres, which strongly suggests that we will have a dry start at least to the race.
does appear that they're getting these mediums out of the way, even just for bankers. Then they'll go for quick runs on the softs. So it is interesting to see they're not looking to waste too many sets of softs, because you could easily do 3 soft runs. But yeah, they're going with the sort of conservative option for now. I guess the track will ramp up a lot more at the end anyway. It tends to be one of those ones where you can only really set your fastest time on the last run. We've seen in other races where it was in Portugal and even Canada last season where the first or second run would be enough, but here it certainly does seem to depend on that last run. So really the ones we're seeing in a minute are just sort of, as I said, just bankers. So Yannick will use this time. He's got the track pretty much to himself. It'll just be really a sighter. And there are so many troublesome points on this track. Even getting on the par out of turn 1, the way the DRS zone is, you're focusing on the traction out of turn 1 while also hitting the button for DRS. And in the race that'll be difficult as well if you're going for your overtake button. There's so many different things you actually have to do there. It's quite a difficult section, as is the top of turn 4, where you can easily cut the corner or spin on the curb and even spin out on the exit. Turn 5, you can see Yannick goes nowhere near the grey curb, because if you touch that, you're spinning off. Very tricky chicane here as well, because you bounce up a lot on the curbs, and you can see Yannick wasn't really interested in touching him because it unsettles the car so much that you could lose time. And now the twisty section. This is where some of the track limits are being abused, especially on the exit here. As Yannick comes through, you can go way wide and cut back in, and you don't lose your time, which is interesting to see. Legend's gone fastest for Williams, I believe, and we'll see if anyone can beat that time. Let's say Yannick's is just a sighter, and he comes round. He'll put a time on the board. I do imagine he'll be into the much lower 14s by the end of all this. But yeah, Yannick just sort of showing us the way around. But yeah, Legend, where is he in the championship? He is currently sitting in 11th place. He only has 1 points finished, but it was a podium. It was a 3rd place in Silverstone. So there is pace there for him, and he was one of the favourites to win that race if the safety cars didn't get involved at the end of it.
Yeah, he was as well, and don't forget he started off as a reserve, and now he's been full-time for quite a bit, actually, full-time since round 2, so he's got a point to prove. There's around about 4 or 5 drivers that had more than one podium, or one or more point-scoring finishes, and then there's the others who have just had either the one podium or had points equivalent to a podium, so the championship for them is still wide open. There's no one that's running away with it right now, which is pretty much we're into the unknowns in F2, because usually at this point of the season, we saw with Valtters last season before he got moved up, where he dominated the season before. We saw Lee, who was dominating, he got moved up as well, and yeah, we just saw quite consistent people scoring well and just having an increasing gap. But the gap between Baraka and Santry is not that much as well, which is good news for both Baraka and Santry, who want to get a good result, but neither of them are anywhere. Well, Santry's in the top 2, but neither of them on pole position. Baraka's in 3rd team, so that's good news for Santry's eyes. Dino, who got a 5-second penalty removed, could be up there as well. He managed to get some decent. I believe he was managed to get on the podium due to that 5 seconds. So he goes through the final few corners now. As we'll see what his set to. Well, I didn't know what his set to 2 time was, but as Devon was almost in the way there, but luckily there was a little bit of a gap for him to get past. So Dino comes across the line. 3rd place for the Alpine driver. Definitely podium material at the moment after what he's shown in a few weeks ago. A 1:14.5 for Dino. That puts him into 3rd place. And Andrea, 1:14.3. What a lap from him. Now, those are quite close times. They are wrapping up, and I believe he set a brilliant final set to there as well. And there comes Santry with a 1:14.4. Times are ticking away, aren't they?
Yeah, we're getting there now, aren't we? These guys are getting quicker and quicker by the lap. And the gaps are staying close, just half a tenth between that top 3. And we'll see how long that goes on to last. And who else is on a lap? We've got a few who have invalidated. Devon was right in front of Dino, so he had just been starting a lap. So we'll go and see how his is getting on as he heads through the middle sector. He's about half a second off the pace at the minute, but on this lap he's 2 tenths up. This should put him around sort of that 8th, 7th, 6th, around that area. If he can gain any more time through there as well, it might even be a little bit higher as he comes through the last corner and negotiated all the traffic. Nothing to worry about in the final corner, just a blast to the line as Tom extends, or goes back to P1 I should say, and Devon goes 8th fastest, and there you go, 7/1000 of a second now is the gap at the top. They are ever so close.
Yes, and it takes, like we said, a small error, and that will put you outside the top 10. But I wonder if some people will be going for the alternate strat, which does work in some cases around this track, but in some cases, it depends on the pace. As Kryptonite, he's on his next lap as well, as he's just invalidated, so he won't be setting another lap time, but I think he's going to cross the line to see what he would have done, but he backed off anyway, so he's not going to do it. So that just leaves Legend and Pat, who are on laps or are about to start their laps as well. They're going nice and early to get rid of the traffic, but I think these will be their final runs unless they're going to go on 2 laps on softs, which I don't recommend. Softs don't last as long as tracks like we're going to next week in Austria, where it could last quite a long time, so they got to be confident in their laps, and the tracks could get... Sorry?
Someone should tell Kryptonite that. He's nearly 2 tenths up in his first sector. This is him right in the contention for P1. He's going for it on that second lap.
Those soft tyres, so we'll see then. Baraka 114, 1-2 laps. It may rain at the start of the session, we don't know, but here comes Kryptonite. So we'll see. He's running out of fuel as well, so I wonder if he's just going for a bit of a glory run at the moment. So heading towards the final corner. Is it going to be pole position or is it going to be top? I think it's going to be top 5, but we'll see. It's going to be, well, I was close, top 6, 114.3 for Kryptonite. Anyone else on a run who could be faster? Baraka, he's 6 seconds down. Kazizzle, he's got a bit of a toe actually from Jax, unintentionally of course, but as he hit the wall on my end and he's invalidated, so yeah, he's not going to get a lap in, unfortunately.
Yes, so he'll hightail that one back to the pits, and we've only got 4 minutes left in the session. And spec you for everyone who's out there at the minute to be heading back in, unless of course you are on an out lap, which we have Andrea and Jax at the minute. And Jax is coming around the final corner. Takes a wide entry to open up the exit, get a little bit more straight line speed as he crosses the line, and he should have most of this track to himself. Currently sits in 15th place. We've certainly seen that he's got pace to win races. In Monaco, he was comfortably in the podium positions and was there to take advantage of the penalties that came Santry's way. And again, I'll keep saying it's a track that's somewhat similar to Monaco in terms of just sort of how you drive it. You've got to be so careful around here, and well, that can advantage drivers like him. As he heads up through the first sector, he's nearly 4 tenths up. Of course, his first time was 1.3 off the pace. I imagine he would have set that on the medium tire, and indeed he did. He, Cohen and Yannick haven't set any times on soft yet, so when they go around, expect improvements, even though Jax, see what I mean? He touches the curb on the inside of 6 and he just unsettles the car so much, and it leaves him a bit all over the place, and now he's invalidated at the time. And that's it. He made that mistake a couple of corners ago, and look, it's still affecting him as he pushes to get himself back round. He'll be burning the tyres out. He'll be ruining his ERS as well. Look, it's underneath the 50%. So he's not going to get another lap. So he's made the mistake at the chicane, and now he's blowing it, and he's going to be into the pit lane. I don't think there'll be another chance to get a lap there for him. So the mistakes at the chicanes have cost Jax a chance at really qualifying anywhere.
Yeah, he's down in 15th. Not ideal position for him, especially since he's won a race this season and he's been consistent point scorer as well, so he can end his point streak here if he's not careful. His Shazoo compatriot Andrea is on a lap. He's a few 100ths down on the first sector, so I was starting to see a situation like we saw in Portugal where people are not improving on their laps, and look at that. Just that small mistake past turn 5 and that ruined your lap completely. And I'm trying to see how long we got left. 1 minute 50, so he could have to do one final lap. We saw Kryptonite improve on his second run on those softs, so Andrea will probably do the same. Not ideal for him, but you see the Kryptonite can do it, so he could probably do it as well. Pat Schneider started his lap. Azzy 696 starting his lap as well. Legend, I believe, has just started as well. Literally, pretty much everyone is out on the track except Jax, who is probably going to retire from the session, ready to start the race. Andrea's going to cross the line to set the first benchmark time for the final part of qualifying, 1:21.4. So yeah, he's 7 seconds down. So yeah, he unfortunately has to go out again for one final run. Is he pushing though? Remains to be seen.
as he then coming through the last sector. Only about 2 stops. So much traffic to get himself through, but he's negotiating it well. And now all he has to do is negotiate the last couple of corners, and we'll see where the Haas driver ends up. No checkered flag yet, so if he wants to go for another time he can, but he's not got the ERS, so 7th place is the maximum he's going to be able to achieve in this qualifying session. Let's see who else is on a lap. We've got plenty of them. Got to try and find someone who's close to the end. Devon's getting close. We've got the Red Bulls out there as well, but they're starting laps. Baraka, he set his fastest time, the fastest time of the session. It was on the 2nd lap on the tyre. So let's see how he does on the 1st lap this time. And Legend has actually just gone 2nd fastest. Didn't quite get up there to Baraka, so his benchmark is still the one to beat. Devon crossing the line. It's a decent lap. It goes up to P7. No major improvements, but still could get him a top 10 start. We've got, I think, Santry out there as well, coming through the last couple of corners. Jax did get across the line to start one more lap, so that's a really quick turnaround from him. So good stuff. Dino's the only one who's not going to be doing a lap at the minute, as Santry does go fastest. So there is the benchmark. Cohen, first lap on the softs, only 16th. No improvements then on position. Ricky was into the pits, so there's no improvement there either. Nicolo is also into the pits too. Where's those Aston Martin drivers? We got Tom, who's up by only 17 thousandths of a second. Needs more than that if he wants to try and challenge that top 3 as he comes through. Where is Tom going to go? He does stay just 4th fastest, and his teammate goes 5th fastest. But here comes Baraka. He went fastest on the 2nd run on those tyres on his last try. Surely, no, he's lost it! Oh, he went too wide at the final turn, and he surely had a decent shot of going fastest, but not anymore. He will have to start that race on 2-lap old sauce. Could that be a big mistake from him there? We'll see how it pans out in the race. Last person out there on the lap is Jax, and he is finding some time. He was 1.3 seconds off the pace, so surely there'll be about a second gains on this lap. And he does only go 14th fastest with it though. An improvement, but not much. But it was the cool head of Santry who's put himself on pole position. Can he finally win a race this season?
Yes, because he got screwed over by the pit lane, cutting the pit lane in France. He got involved in an instance in Monaco, which caused him like a 20-second penalty. Surely we're going to have a 5th different winner here, because it's so hard to overtake, like he said. But there's still people like the likes of Baraka and Tom that could change that and could be the first person to get a 2nd win this season. We've had different winners, which is not what we expected in F2 at all. No one is going to do a lap again, and the top 2 separate not by much, only by about a few 100ths of a second. Now we got the gap between Baraka and Legend about roughly the same, about 4 100ths of a second. And then the gap between the 2 Aston Martins is quite significant, 2 100ths as well. I wasn't expecting the gap to be this close in Hungary. Austria maybe, but Hungary definitely not. So they have been putting the practice in. Well, it just helped they had an extra week to get in the laps as well. And a few drivers said to me that they were using their break week to practice Hungary, and it just shows in the times how much they've been putting in the work, because some of these drivers, who knows, next season we could see them in the top PlayStation tier.
Well, we could well see them up there, but for now, it's Santry on pole. Baraka, the Champions leader, in 2nd, but that's 2-lap old tyres. Legend 3rd, Tom 4th, Kazizel 5th, Pact 6th, Andrea 7th, Kryptonite 8th, Devon 9th, and Azzy 10th, all on those softs. Then Nicolo, Ricky, Dino, Jax, CC Brain, Cohen, and Yannick. Those 2 couldn't get a time on the softs. And we'll see how the race pans out. Strategy here could be interesting. We could see the 1 stop working. Maybe someone will try 2. I'd be surprised if we see that though. Weather could affect things too. So we'll see how it all sort of pans out. But let's see. What's the weather going to do?
Well, we'll find out very shortly. It's looking quite overcast at the moment, even though you can't see it. But it usually starts quite sunny sometimes in Hungary, and then it gets raining. But for us now, it's impossible to tell if it's going to be wet or not. We've seen some situations in Hungary where it started off wet, but it was dry tyres as well, which was quite interesting. Hopefully we won't get something similar here as well, but surely the drivers do know what to expect, even though the weather is set to approximate anyway. Strategy is either going to be soft to hard or a two-stop strategy with soft, medium, medium. There's no way they're going to do soft to mediums here, but you never know. We said that in Canada last season. We said that in, I think it was Portugal as well last season, and they managed to make the soft to mediums work, but we will see. But we literally don't know what the right strategy could be, but soft to hards will probably be the more viable option if we wait for the drivers to pick their tyre strategies anyway. I do see a few hards in the garage as well, so I wonder if they've got hards in their back pocket as well, because there could be some rain on the horizon. But looking at the tyres, only one driver's gone for the hards, that is Nicolo. Dino's gone for the softs. Everyone else outside the top 10 has gone for the mediums. If I was them, I probably would have done the same thing and gone for the mediums. But interesting strategy for Nicolo and Dino, going for a different strategy to everyone else outside the top 10.
Yeah, Nicolo obviously being 11th place, that is an interesting call, because it means he's ahead of all the rest of those alternate strategy drivers. If he can stay there, then this strategy would look pretty exciting for him. But I mean, it's not actually that hard a task around here, is it? So it could lead to a lot of shenanigans in that fight. And obviously, if he does end up with better sort of long-term pace, we're thinking, what, 20 laps into the race, he would end up being probably still about as fast as he was, or at least consistent as he was, on lap 10, while others on mediums would be starting to drop off. So there are benefits to trying this strategy, and if it works out perfectly, it means he could even take advantage of late safety cars as well. So it gives him some sort of flexibility now in that strategy. The rest on mediums, though, do not rule them out, of course. They will be doing their own thing and should be quick. Dino's the only one I'm sort of surprised at when he's sort of in 13th place. Saucy obviously wants to be fighting in the top 10, so he'll need to make some moves.
He does, but the softs are 1.3 seconds quicker than the mediums around this track. So if Dino wants to get a move on, he's got to get a move on very, very quickly. Turn 1, it's a prime overtaking opportunity around this track. We saw that in 1986, actually, where we saw Nelson Piquet overtake Senna in turn 1 in quite an unusual way, but he made it work as well. And then you got the DRS run into turn 2 and 3 as well. I think that's the only chance you can get a move as well. Maybe down towards penultimate corners of turn 12 and 13 as well. But we will let Owen take the start as the final few cars made their way onto the grid.
Yes, I'm noticing Cohen is not parked up in the right place. I'm not entirely sure that's going to cause a collision, because he's parked on the curb there.
Oh, no, he's fine.
Put back in the right place. Right, here we go. We've got 5 lights on. Santry from Baraka. The top 2 in the championship gets away. But who's going to get the run towards turn 1? Looks pretty good from Baraka, who's straight away into the race lead. The championship leader getting his foot ahead. But who's going to get through into turn 1? Who's going to be on the last podium spot? Tom on Legend has got the inside line, and the Aston Martin driver is through. The 2 Aston Martins, in fact, are sort of going down the field a little bit. Or at least Kazizel is, I should say. He's falling down to 8th place. Devon trying to get in for that position too. So whatever happened to him at turn 1, he's not looking good. The rest of them trying to stay a bit well behaved. But look at that midfield scrap. Nicolo's already lost 2 spots. So Dino is the highest of the alternate strategy drivers, or at least outside the top 10 strategy drivers, and is where you'd expect him to be. And yeah, I'm surprised there were no collisions there, actually, because that could easily have been something. They were nearly 4 wide back there.
Yeah, remember in the wet in real life where we saw Valtteri Bottas cause a collision there as well, but luckily it's not raining, so to be fair, they kept it clean. Fair play to them. There has been a few instances in turn 1 this season where it's gone a bit worse, so thank goodness they were able to put their differences behind them as well. Cohen has passed Nicolo up to 14th, so Nicolo starting on the hard's not the best option, but Dino's done the right thing, actually within the soft runners at the moment, as Azzy has had a bit of a moment as he's probably going to the pits to change his front wing. So that promotes Dino up into 10th position as well. So Tom is still on the podium. We saw actually a Williams driver trying to get past Tom as well into turn 1. He can't make it stick, unfortunately. Tom covers him off to the inside, and they're using quite a lot of ERS already heading towards turn 2 and 3. Yellow flag, that is Alpine of, I think it's Ricky, unfortunately, who's had a bit of a spin there. Easy thing to do. I've done that a few times, and He's now dropped to 16th place, but I doubt he's got damage. Let me have a look at his car. I doubt it. No, he hasn't, so he just had a bit of a spin. So that is dropped him way down where he should be, outside the top 10, but it's still quite a long way to go of this race. The top 2 remained unchanged at the moment, but there's still plenty of things that can happen as well. Legend is definitely looking poised to get past Tom, but like we said earlier, it is hard to overtake. It is one thing trying to close up to a car, it's a different thing to overtake.
Yeah, and we'll see the DRS trains also make it difficult as they head round. The only thing that you would, I suppose, take some advantage from is the DRS train, but that's as the ERS that you'll gain in the DRS train compared to the leader. But not everyone's going to be trying to pass the leader, so it doesn't really help that much actually. As we start lap 3, DRS is now going to be enabled, but you won't actually see any of it right until the end of the lap because there's only one detection point, and it is just before the pit entry. And so we'll see them all without the rear wing. Means no moves are happening. They're not really any of them close enough to even think about it, to be honest. And it's just about settling in now.
Yeah, finding their groove as well around this track and seeing what your rivals don't have that you do have as well in terms of the pace that these drivers have as well. As Legend almost had a bit of a moment there, but on my end, but luckily he's all good now as well. You can see people trying to avoid the curb before the double chicane like you were talking about as well, because otherwise you will be sent off to Narnia as well. And it'll be interesting to see about the pit stops as well. With the DRS train being so big, who would take the advantage of going into the pit stops nice and early so they get the benefit of clean air as well? Because I think that could benefit them in the long run. We saw that with Monaco as well. We're talking back to Monaco a lot because the characteristics are quite similar. Those who pit really early sometimes, they definitely had a disadvantage because they were caught in traffic and they were involved in incidents, whereas the ones who pitted a lot later, they were able to avoid the carnage, had clean air, and they were able to gain positions because of it. So we may see something similar here. It's less narrow compared to Monaco, but still, I think we're talking about something similar as well. We got to keep an eye on the pit lane loss too, and the tyre deg is a bit high as well. So undercuts probably may be a bit of an issue for some of these drivers, but yeah, that is something to think about. Pit stops may be a factor in terms of positions really more than overtakes the way this is going right now, but we will see as the top 10 still remain unchanged from lap 4 onwards, as CC Brain is the highest medium runner so far, and as he has dropped down to last place on those hard tyres, which he didn't want to be on if I was him, but he had no other choice.
Yeah, and he's just, well, waiting for a safety car, I suppose, to come out, unless he can even get those hards to the end, but that would be very surprising. Strange things have happened, though. Niccolo has fallen outside the 1 second gap on those hards, and so that might leave him a bit detached to the pack, so Jax Yannick will really want to try and get themselves through. Pat Schneider as well, he's right on the edge of falling outside to Andrea, and we already see a pit stop from Tom and Baraka, so they are off those softs very quickly indeed. Now what are they going to be putting on? What colour are we going to see?
Is it going to be hards?
Yeah, so maybe they can get them to the end. I don't know. Maybe they are able to do it. So that is a very early pit call, but it does give them the clean air. And it means that we might actually be about to see Niccolo sort of shuffle to the front at some point a bit earlier than he would have expected. Would medium runners think about pitting early as well? Or will they try and extend and go for sauce? They certainly don't seem confident that the sauce can go very long, so that's an interesting strategy. I didn't think they'd pit that early.
I didn't think so as well, but it may be down to the tyre temperatures as well, because that plays a massive factor around this track. And I am still quite shocked though, because the mediums around here in the overcast conditions are a lot harder compared to the softs, especially the hards as well, and you lose so much more time. But Baraka's got some clear air, so does Tom to some extent, so them pitting now, they probably had no other choice. So the hards could last 29 laps anyway, so it can just push to the end of the race as well. So if you want to do a one stop, ideally pitting now would be the best option, but I thought more people do soft to medium, so maybe people will do soft to hards. Andrea comes in 2 from his soft run, and will he go on to some white striped hard tyres. I think I see that coming on the car. Now I saw an Alpine coming to the pits actually as well. That is Dino. So hards for the Haas man of Andrea. And Dino's gone for mediums. Now that's committing to a 2-stop. There's no way the mediums are going to get to the end from here.
No, they won't get to the end. It's a shame he got the 5-second penalty when he came in. That might hinder him in this 2-stop. Although at least, at the very least, if he ends up in the pits again, he can take the 5 seconds later. But still, not exactly ideal. But yeah, that's 3 then of the sort of front-running train to have pitted. And Baraka has got 8 seconds of clean air in front of him, which he can use to his advantage, just to sort of enjoy the clean air and not worry about any cars behind. Just get on with making sure that the undercut is going to work, because Santori's soft should still have a little pace. You know, the overcut could work for him. So that's why Baraka's really got to be on it. But the pit stop isn't coming yet from Santori or from Legend, so they're happy to stay out. Pat Schneider, Kryptonite, they're both into the pits. Devin will stay out because he has to. Doesn't want to stack, because that was staying out purely by his own choice. And he's lucky to get DRS there, because I tell you, if he didn't get any of it, Devin would have been straight past him. But even still, if Devin could just get a nice slipstream on the way towards turn 2, perhaps there is still a way through. He's trying it, he's using the ERS, but yeah, Cadill's DRS from that pit entry has kept him ahead of Devin there. As we see, coming out of the pits, Tom in between Andrea and Baraka, who's still got a lead of over a second. So still looking relatively comfortable for now. The rest all as well, just sort of slotting in with no issues at the moment. And yeah, it's basically now we're waiting for those top 4, and look at that, because this gap is 4.5 to Legend, so I didn't realise the gap had sort of got that big. That's how many have pitted, I suppose, but yeah, we'll see a lot more sort of just come out, because he's holding that train up. In fact, he is holding quite the train still, and he's feeling the pressure as cars are all over the back of him. He nearly went off. Obviously, time penalties will be happening if you go off too often, and here that's a disaster. And I tell you what, Santori nearly stacked it into the wall on the way into the pits, Coulthard style, so he's lucky that didn't happen. It's because this will stand out again. He is.
Yes.
So he's the only soft runner to keep going. What are the 3 pitters going to go on to? Looks like mediums for Santori and Legend. So they've gone longer, and they've gone for a different compound of tyre to what everyone else is sort of looking at doing around them. Will Baraka beat them out? Yes, he will. What about Tom? Will Tom beat them out? He might have a chance on Santori. We'll see. He's going to have to sort of cut back on him, but he doesn't get any DRS here because, like I say, that detection point is before they pit. And so that means Santori won't be under any pressure. And yeah, we'll see what the Alfa Romeo driver can do on these mediums, because surely he's going to be on the attack.
Yeah, he's got to, really, with those medium tyre runs, because the mediums are 7/10 quicker than the hards, so surely the ones on the mediums should be the ones to get the overtake. But Santori is dropping back, so maybe he's taking the world's warmest tyres. But in a lap or two's time, I think the Delta will come to him and he can try for the move. But remember, he needs to overtake first, and if you can't overtake, if you're on the softer tyre, that is where you're going to be in a lot more trouble, and you're going to lose so much grip.
Why is he staying out? Kazizel, why is he staying out? He's lost 2 places and he's still going to lose more. He'll be overtaken by a hard runner in a minute. Look at this, here comes Nicolo. You can see Kazizel's got no grip left. He's weaving, trying to break the toe. This surely doesn't help his race. Does this maybe suggest that others are going to be trying to 2-stop? Are all those early pitters for a 2-stop? And he's doing his best to extend it for a 1. I can't see any other reason why he's still out there, because he's hemorrhaging time. And Legend is going past Tom, so there's the mediums working for him. And he's back up into a net P3, assuming that everyone else is going to be pitting and on the same strategy. But yeah, Kazizel, this isn't working right now for him, but maybe in the long term, we'll see.
Yes, maybe he's probably seeing things that we're not, but I'm not seeing any signs that it could be raining. He's actually brightening up, actually, around this Hungarian circuit, so I think Kazizel wants to go on mediums and knows that if he pits now, he'll probably be warned to be getting a puncher, but he's got to be worried about the undercut. Yeah, he's going to drop way to the back of the field. He's going to drop near where Azzy is at the moment as well. That's how much time he's going to lose as well. Or maybe he'll be near where Dino and Pat Schneider is, but we'll see. Is Cazzizzle coming in? Yes, he finally comes into the pits, the last of the soft runners to pit, which will push Nicolo up to third place. Jack's up to fourth. And that just leaves the medium runners who have started on the mediums. And, yeah, Cohen for the lead. Yeah, Cohen gets past CC Brain up into P1 of this race, into turn 1. Easy move. Can CC Brain fight him off and get the lead back? No, he does not. Cohen is up to first.
Through goes Santry. That's very quick, actually, once he got the tyres up to temperature. Straight through, no questions asked. And surely Legend's going to do the same thing to Baraka.
Yeah, surely. I think Baraka is losing so much more time on those hards that Legend will say, hang on a minute, I could possibly get that move done here as well. So maybe he'll wait a lap or two to do so as well. And all the soft runners are out of the pitch. We just got to focus on this net race lead battle with Santry. Santry is probably angry that he got the penalty. He accepted it, but he was angry that it happened and he cut the pit lane a few weeks ago. Now he's just got to focus now on making sure that he doesn't make any mistakes in any more pit stop, doesn't get involved in any incidents. That's why he wants to have the clear air in front of him and increase the gap behind him too. But I think he's all right at the moment with Baraka struggling on those hards, being 7/10 slower than the mediums. And Legend just wondering, I want to get the move done now. He's got plenty of ERS as well, so surely he'll be at an advantage compared to Baraka. Baraka's on 55. Surely it's going to be an easy move with the Delta being so different and faster as well. Here comes Legend. Is that an easy move for turn 1? Yes, it is. Legend is up into P1, and I don't think Baraka challenged a little bit, but I think no hard feelings. I think Baraka just couldn't challenge him with the hard compounded tyres. It may be good towards the end, but for now, the mediums are the faster tyre, and Baraka has just got to fight his position. He's got Tom behind him as well, who's on the hards as well. And we'll see if Dino could do exactly the same to what Legend did to Baraka, to Tom now, because Tom's on the harder tyre, Dino's on the mediums. He's already within DRS of Tom, so maybe this could be his chance.
Yeah, so Baraka, in the last 2 laps, has lost nearly 2 seconds to Santry. And Santry's doing well to keep Legend behind his DRS. So right now, he's got more ERS than the Williams too, so it's working out relatively well for him. It's just about what his long-term plans are going to be for this race, which will really tell us how he's looking. But yeah, he certainly is still playing a very calculated game. He's not probably going to catch Ricky for the next sort of 4 or 5 laps, and even if he did, I imagine that might be the time where Ricky will be thinking about pitting along with the other medium runners, but we'll see how that ends up panning out. Depends what they really want to pit onto. Do they want to go long and go for sauce? I suppose that is an option. They will be the ones to give us an indication as to how far Santry and Legend and Dino and Cazzizzle and Andrea are going to go. Because, I mean, Andrea's just put them on, so surely that's to the end. Surely they're confident they can go to the end from there now. So maybe, we're going to see a bit of a France repeat where Santry's going to be at the front on dying tyres.
Yes, that was a repeat of France in a way as well, and that really helped Santry as well, but there could be a safety car that could change all that. We haven't had any VSCs or safety cars yet. All could change though, because it does come up a bit in Hungary, not as much as the other circuits on the PSGL calendar this season. We're on lap 12 of 35, and the highest of our championship leading runners at the moment is Santry right now, compared to the likes of Baraka and Tom. Legend as well in between that as well. Other drivers doing well as well. Pat Schneider as well doing quite well in a net P6, I believe, as well, with Kryptonite chasing him down as well. Pat Schneider, he's looking to score some more points this season. He's got 4 points this season, and he got it in France a few weeks ago. So he's looking to capitalise on that. So surely he would want to get another point scoring round today, and if he gets 4 points again, that will just show his consistent form, and he could get up into the top 10 of the standings as well. Devon maybe not doing as well as he would have hoped, but surely he knows with the medium tyres that could die very shortly, he could still be on in the running to get a good result. And yeah, the overcast thing is pretty much gone, and it's now pretty much almost clear skies here in Hungary. Still a bit of cloud, but not as overcast as it was before. So any threat of rain that we thought was going to happen, it was gone, which was why obviously Kazizel went into the pits very, very late. But we'll see what those two can do at the end. Cohen now is increasing the gap to CC Brain to 9/10 of a second, and then we got Jack in third position, but he's got Nicolo chasing him down, as well as Yannick and Ricky as well. That train is going to be huge, I think, from the likes of Jax to Ricky as well. But will any one of those drivers go onto the hards and go to the end of the race, or will they do the opposite to what we're seeing Andrea and Kazizel do and do a medium to soft strategy? We will see.
Yes, we will certainly find out soon. Watching Dino right now, he's obviously on the back of Tom, who's got no DRS and is on the hard, so another move you would expect wouldn't really be contested too much, as the Alpine man does get through into the top 10 once again. And Tom, can he fight back? Will have any DRS to do so, and that'll be no way through. Now, race leader Cohen has picked up a penalty, and that could be quite damaging to his race, especially the way his strategy is. It's sort of, you know, panning out to be decided by little margins right at the end of the race when he's trying to get through cars, and that 3 seconds is possibly going to set him back a few positions as we lose our first car in the pits of Andrea.
Oh, what happened to him?
Yeah, he just retired in the pits, but he'd already made an extra pit stop, so I wonder if there was more contact with other people that we just didn't see. But
Yes.
out of the race regardless, and you'll see his car probably retiring somewhere on track. I don't know where they tend to go on this track. Sometimes I think they go at turn 2, so you'll maybe see them there. There will be yellow flags in that section, so hopefully no one's going to go for any passes there, because it will penalise you for it. But yes, I don't think anyone's in a position to overtake anyway. By the looks of it, they're all just minding their own business for now.
Yes, it's turning out to be a bit of a possession drive for most of these drivers at the moment. They're not going for it yet. I think they're waiting until near the end of this race to do so. I think that's where we're going to get the busiest moment of the Grand Prix, as well as, oh, that was so close from Kazizel there on the back of Kryptonite and Pat Schneider, as I thought Kazizel was going to go for the move there, but he was too late on the brakes. Any more late on the brakes, he would have hit him as well, and I don't think Kryptonite would have been too happy with that, as they head up on the run up to turn 4 now. And I thought Kazizel was going to be very, very risky there as well. But again, you don't want to be too risky around this track, because any more closer to the curb and you will be sent into a spin as well. So watch out for that Pat versus Kryptonite versus Kazizel train, as well as Devin as well, who's on the back of this as well. He's just sitting patient at the moment. Doesn't want the dirty air to affect him at all, because you're going to lose so much downforce around this track especially. So that the further away you are to the car, the better. Cohen's in the pits, interestingly enough. So I don't think he's going to go on to softs, because that won't get to the end. So I think he's going to go on to the hard. Yeah, he's going on to the hard tyres. He thinks the softs won't get to the end. So hard until the end. Not what he wants to do, but that's better him than getting a puncher. So that's Cohen dropping outside the top 10 for now, but will that mean CC Brain coming? We'll find out very shortly, and the same for Jax as well. Will that trigger a response for the medium runners, or will they just ignore the fact that he's gone on to hards, and will they try for that soft tyre run? But that leaves the door wide open. We just don't know at this point.
Yeah, it's too hard to actually sort of predict it all right now. And you can see where Cohen's come out, just sort of behind Kazizel. Not really as happy as he wants, and like I said, a penalty isn't going to really help his spirits either, I'd imagine. But I wonder when the rest of these guys are going to pit, because Santry's still about 3 seconds behind it all. So they'll probably be pitting in the next sort of 2 or 3 laps just to make sure he doesn't catch, because then if he catches, then that causes potential issues. And besides, Santry will be more focused, hopefully, on Legend, because Legend's happily sitting in his DRS, so I'm sure he'll be hoping just as much as they will that they don't end up meeting up with each other at any point. But we will, again, wait and see. We're only at the halfway point of this race, so plenty still to happen. And, well, these medium runners keep going. With every lap, they get more likely to go to softs, because, you know, we're on to the second half nearly. and that would give some opportunities. Now, here's Cohen on Kazizel. Kazizel defends to the inside line. Will Cohen try and get him on the outside? A little bit of contact on the way through, but surely the grip on those medians will be too much for Cohen to sort of overcome, and he will have to stay where he is at the minute in P13. Nicola will be catching these guys in a moment. He's on his new mediums, and maybe he'll be able to make some sort of an impact, but for now, it just isn't happening for them at the minute. They're just being very, very well behaved.
They are, aren't they? They're just not going for anything that resembles disaster, because they've seen, I think, the stewards the last few weeks, and they've been penalised quite interestingly as well, with the likes of pit lane penalties, and Monaco as well. A lot of people got penalised, so they don't want to fall into that regard as well. They probably are treating it as like Monaco, to be honest, with the characteristics, and just not going for any gambles, which is fair enough. You would rather do that than not score any points at all, but there's quite a lot of people that are going to be out of the points at this rate as well. But we won't know the full pecking order until pretty much the top four come in for their final stops, which will be in around about 3 or 4 laps time, I would think, for the soft compounder tyres, because there's no point going on the hards at the moment. Anyone close enough to a move? I think the closest to a move is Kazizel again on Kryptonite, but again, he's just not quite close enough. I think Kryptonite has more of an advantage because he has more ERS, so if he wants to, if Kazizel goes for a move, Kryptonite could defend with his ERS. Same with Pat as well, I think. No, he's not. Pat's on 30%, so Kryptonite, I think if Kryptonite goes for it, I think Kazizel wants to go for it as well, so I think Kazizel is just waiting patiently right now. Same with Cohen.
Well,
actually, Cohen's not waiting patiently. He's going for a move in that double chicane, and Kazizel's out the race.
There's definite safety car potential of that, and that was all on Kazizel as opposed to losing the back end, and the VSC, that might well give CC Bray and Jack, Yannick and Ricky a chance to get into the pit. Would anyone else think of taking advantage as well? But yeah, Kazizel, he went wide at 5, Cohen goes for it, and then there's just contact on the exit. I don't think really it's much that could have been done about that. Only Ricky is pitting, and obviously this does make him some time. But how will this play out, and what tyre will he end up going on to? I guess it'll have to still be the hards, which might be why those other medium runners haven't pitted, because they still fancy softs perhaps. But this will have him a little bit higher up the order, Ricky, because we're still under VSC, and he will have been able to do his full pit stop and full exit out of the pits ahead of Cohen. So yeah, it works out for Ricky in that respect. Oh, and Cohen's hit him as well.
Ooh.
Little tap, shouldn't cause any issues hopefully, but still, just be a bit wary of it. Don't want to end up having an accident under VSC. That would be an awkward way to ruin your race.
Yes, and you don't want to be getting a 5-second time penalty either, but there was a patch, I think, a few weeks ago to get rid of the unnecessary penalties under VSC or safety car, so probably if Cohen hit Ricky before that patch came out, he would have got a... so speaking of penalties under safety VSC, Yannick has got a drive-through penalty. And where is Yannick? He's third on the road, so he's going to drop down to last place, and he has to make a pit stop, so... I don't think he's got damage, so he'll have to serve his drive-through first. Then he has to come in and go into the pits. I won't be surprised if he retires there and then, because he's going to be last, and unless there's a safety car, he's pretty much out of this race. So, yeah, he's retired, like I thought he was going to be. So, another pit lane retirement, just like Andrea did as well, which makes it our third retirement in the Hungarian Grand Prix. Down to 14 runners now, and I think that's allowing Pat and Kryptonite and Ricky to jump again. Well, they would have jumped anyway if Yannick pitted earlier on, but yeah, so sometimes I wonder if Yannick was just losing a bit of concentration sometimes, or just not looking at Delta, because it's just so hard to do sometimes, but it is looking right at you sometimes, so maybe he just wasn't paying attention. He was thinking about his next stop, and then he realised actually there was a VSC, or maybe he didn't see a VSC there, maybe it didn't pop up on the screen, we don't know. But yeah, that's Yannick out, and another race ruined for the Williams driver. That's all up to legend now to score points for the Williams team.
Yes, and he, well, at least he's learning, or at least he's earning some points in the higher positions right now, so hopefully it'll be a good haul at the end. But we'll see again how it all ends up going. CC Brain and Jax are getting closer and closer, like I say now, every lap. Surely softs is what they're looking for. And if they get another VSC or anything like that in that time period, then that'll certainly help them even more. Let's see how Ricky's getting on. Will he be taking much advantage out of this? He, of course, does have a penalty, so even though he got to pit in earlier, or for less time, the penalty might drag him back at the end of it all, because he is sort of in the middle of the DRS train. Nicolo hasn't really been able to make much progress in this, despite being on the best tyres, as we see Cohen having a look on the inside of Ricky, actually. And he does get through relatively cleanly, so up into 10th place for Cohen. Nicolo, is he now making the move on Devon? Yes, he is. Right around the outside, Devon goes a little wider, tries to scare Nicolo off, but Ferrari will get through. And up into 12th place, and he'd be mad to try anything up to turn 4. So Devon will just sit back and let Nicolo go.
Yes, I think in some situations, one, if there's no way you can get past or actually get the overtake done, you stay behind. But obviously Nicolo was struggling a little bit there as well, but Devon struggling a bit more on those hard tyres. So to be fair, the harder tyres that you're on at the moment, 12 laps on those hard tyres for Devon, so he's struggling more than anybody else. He's in pretty much second to bottom right now as well, but I have to say there are some moves being made elsewhere in the field as well. They don't want to be at a similar position as well. Azzy is still keeping going, even though he's in last position and 24 seconds behind P13. So he's an example that you do not give up. He's praying for a late safety car. If there's a late safety car, he could be back in this race. I believe he just pitted again for another set of the medium tyres. Expect the medium runners, CC Brain Jax, to pit in the next lap or two for the softs. And then that will promote Santry and Legend to the lead of this Grand Prix. Let us know your predictions in chat on who you think is going to win. Santry, Legend, Baraka, or would it be someone different? Maybe Tom, maybe if the hard starts come into play towards the end of the race. Or maybe it would be the medium runners. We will see. As we saw, I thought I saw Williams of Legend losing it there on Alpine. But I don't know, it might just be my internet. I'm not entirely sure. But lap 22 so far. And will CC Brain come into the pits? I think you'll probably have a think about it. Maybe I think lap 24, I would say, to get to the end. Or is he thinking about it now? Nope, he's staying out for another lap. So I think a lap or two, and then he'll come in. Same with Jax.
Yeah, their pace is decent compared to Santry and Legend. Have you noticed? They're just not really doing anything, but they are fighting. Well, I say fighting. Jax is just taking the lead, and CC Brain's happy to let it happen. But the point is, the gap to Santry and Legend isn't really dropping. If anything, it's just sort of staying the same, which means that the pace is still good. It means they don't need to worry about pitting. All they know is that they'd be descending on people who are on so much worse tyres at the end. And that's where their advantage will be, as Nicolo gets by Ricky into 12th now and can try and get in towards that top 10.
Yes, I think we're seeing less moves being made at this stage at the moment. I think all it takes is for someone to bin it and have a safety car in order for any moves to happen, unfortunately. But, you know, anything can happen towards the end of this race, and it usually does. And I think we could see Santry lose it on his tyres, but I think Santry's quite good at managing his tyres like we saw in France. So if he's the man to keep Legend behind, Santry is the one as well. And if he does, he'll probably be leading the championship if he wins this race as well. He was going to win in France before that penalty, so he is looking to have a win actually given to him this time. He always gets the bad luck with these type of things at the moment, but still, let me just look at positions gained actually from all the drivers, apart from obviously CC Brain and Jax because they haven't came in yet. Dino is up 7 and Cohen up 6 places, so only way to go for them is up. And Santry will pretty much start at P1. He will potentially be staying P1. And I think Legend will gain quite a few. Same with Baraka. I think Baraka started pretty low down as well. But apart from that, it's a yellow flag. That's Cohen. No, Cohen and Kryptonite. So did they have a bit of a collision? They must have in turn 3. that was awful from them too, but I didn't see what happened. I only saw the aftermath of that, but I don't think Cohen did not get damaged. I mean, neither did Kryptonite, but their tyres must be overheating at the moment.
Yeah, they've just got to sort of give it a lap or two to cool down, and they should be back onto pace, but they've obviously fallen a bit off where they were now, which is a shame for them, but at least they're still running. A late safety car or anything like that gets them back into play, and just as I was saying, that gap was stabilising with the top two towards Santry. Santry's now in their DRS, so maybe he's put his foot down a bit more. Either that or Jackson, CC Bray and the tyres are really starting to go. But either way, it's now a four-way DRS train for P1. 2 Alfa Romeos, a Red Bull and a Williams. When are we going to see Baraka start to catch up onto these medium runners when they start to drop off? Surely by the end of the race, there'll be some sort of pace advantage for Baraka, you'd have hoped. But yeah, he's sort of set in a no man's land. He'd still be challenger leader if it finished Santry, Legend, him. He'd lead it by a point, but yeah, that all depends on how this pans out. As I keep saying, it's all really going to be right about how these last strategies end up going and if they make any difference.
Yeah, I think it's a strategy game, I think, this race, more than the overtaking at the moment, because we haven't seen many overtakes from our net race leaders pretty much since they come into the pits. So Santry, Legend, Baraka, they pretty much stayed where they are. Same with Dino and Tom as well. All the other action has happened behind them on the track with those big DRS trains, but they're just not budging. Even though Nicolo is so close to the back of Pat Schneider, he just can't get past, which may be down to the sheer pace of Pat at the moment. Meanwhile, our last pit stops have just happened of the race. Jax and CC Brain, they'll go on to the softs, till the end of the race, which will get to the exit last 10 laps of this race. So they will see if they can get the fastest laps as well. So CC Brain, we'll see where he comes out. Probably won't lose too much time. Jax actually comes out ahead of CC Brain in the pit stops. They'll probably fall outside the top 10, only just. And will they be ahead of Kryptonite? Yes, they will be ahead of Kryptonite. So the fresher softs will probably help them in the long run, which means Kryptonite is out of the points. That spin with Karen did not help theirs. Azzy is out of the race, and I think he retired in the pits. So that makes it now 13 runners still in this race.
Yeah, and that is both passes out then. A sight that we've seen a few times in PSGL F2, but once again it's happened tonight. And well, this is it now. Will Legend start thinking about the attack on Santry? Will he leave it late? 9 laps to prepare at the end of this one. I'm sure he'll have something up his sleeve. He'll be wanting to get that first win of the season on the board for Williams. He's had only, let us say, 1 points finish, and that was P3 in Silverstone. And a race he definitely could have won, and a race where he finished yeah, with arguably some of the best pace out there, so we know he's decent towards the end of races. It's about whether he can make that pace count, as we see Tom getting through on Dino into 4th place. Dino obviously had the penalty anyway, but it's good from Tom that he's get through anyway. It means that if Baraka ends up in any pressure, he might be able to try and catch, but a 4.3 second gap is quite large, so P4 might be the maximum today unless something goes wrong in front of him.
Yeah, but you never know with Tom as well. The mediums could die and Tom could be back into this. Same for Baraka too. I think Baraka has a bit more of a chance than the others. I think we're starting to see more moves being made now towards the end. We've had a quiet middle to the race, and I think we're going to have a busy end to the race, in particular with this train. So Jax then is probably could take the risk here, but he decides not to for reasons, but he knows he's on the faster tyre, so surely he must be frustrated that he's stuck behind some harder tyre runners. Same with CC Brain as well. CC Brain's going to have it all to do for him as well, because CC Brain has the fact of trying to get past Jax too, but Jax is trying to find some creative ways to get past Devon, but to no avail. Or is he going to go for a late lunge at the penultimate corner? Well, he has the fresher grip tyres, and the Delta's about 2 seconds quicker than the hard, so of course he will get the move done there. Easy does it. Jack's up to 9th place, and surely CC Brain's going to think about it heading just before turn 1, even before the braking turn of turn 1 actually. So CC Brain up into 10th place, and I do believe I saw him get the No, but yes, he's got the fastest lap as a result as well, so he was definitely pushing that. The toe definitely helped in there as well. So the battle, I would say, for 7th place is going to be very, very interesting with the likes of CC Brain, Jax, Ricky and Pat Schneider as well. Can the hard runners defend from the soft runners? I doubt it, but you never know.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to do anything at the minute. As Jax puts the pressure on, Pat Schneider only had an accident at turn 4, had to cut the corner as Jax gets himself up into P8 now, through on Ricky. Like I say, there's no real point fighting these guys when they're coming through at this rate, especially if you're someone who has penalties, which Pat and Ricky are, and that is CC Brain through as well. And Jax, he needs to keep it clean making these overtakes. I've had it a few times where I've been going through the field and end up picking up a penalty and going for a move just sort of too soon. When you're on good tyres, the move will come, don't try and rush it. And he's not been doing so. He's been making the right moves at the right time. Pat Schneider, like I say, will be next, and after that it'll be about catching Nicolo, and then possibly a P5 is on the table because of Dino's penalty. So here comes Jax, and through into 7th. And will Kryptonite try and make anything work? He will have DRS on Pat Schneider here, and he should have the exit, and he should have the higher straight line speed. And a move up the inside, hits him. Maybe a bit too aggressive there. Has the Alpha... Oh! He's in the wall as well, Pat. Having gone wide. Just lost it. Possibly got a wheel on the dirt. And that's had him now at the back. Don't really think anyone's mainly at fault for that one. That was just a bit unlucky, I think, trying to recover back on. But he's now at the back, and CC Brain is through. And now both Jax and CC Brain can keep moving through the field. Legend isn't making any sort of inroads on Santry yet. That really is something that we might just wait and see at the end, if it happens at all. Because it does seem like Santry, with that much ERS, is in some decent control.
Yeah, looks like he has the pace from the very start. We said at the start, if you have a good qualifying around here, you're more than likely going to get a good result, and that's what Santry is proving at the moment, that he was close enough to be getting wins, but couldn't quite do it. Maybe this could be his chance, but Legend, look at that. He's not giving up without a fight, isn't he? He's doing all he can, but he's going to get to a stage where he runs out of VRS and it will be pretty much hardly any power on that Williams car, and that will be probably advantage Santry as well, as Pat gets a 5-second penalty spinning in the pit lane, and it makes it our 5th retirement of the race, down to 12 runners. Good news if you're the likes of Cohen and Kryptonite. Still potential chance to potentially get points in this Grand Prix if 2 more people retire. I hope that's not the case, because we want to see as many people finish as they possibly can, but we will see the yellow flag for Pat. It's a bit of a shame because Pat was running in a decent position as well before the trouble that he had with the battle. So yeah, there's been some races where he's been good, but unfortunately it's turned into some bad luck for him this race. Didn't replicate what he did in France, sadly, being his only point scoring of the season so far. But we got Austria next week. Maybe Austria could be his chance to fight back on some decent points.
Indeed. Now, we've got Jax now on the back of Nicolo, and that will surely be a move pretty quick. And then after that, they've still got 5 laps, these guys. I wonder if Jax could push on and try and get into 4th place on the road. It'll be difficult to do. He's got to make 4 seconds, and CC Brain might be also on the back of it. But yeah, he's not probably going to try that turn 2 move again. It was a bit messy last time he tried it, so the Red Bull driver just has to have a car in between himself and Jax for now. But yes, 5 laps, 3.6 seconds to make. Can Jax do it? He needs 2 overtakes done there as well, as CC Brain does get through. That is a tall task, but let's see. It's possible. He's got 20 lap fresher tyres than the guys in front of him, so it's not exactly difficult to say he'll be quicker.
Yeah, I mean, you're gaining about almost 1.5 seconds per lap as well, so it is doable. You're on the fresher tyres as well. Surely the mediums are past the sell-by date too, so Jax could potentially get P5 at best, I would say. There's no way with the laps we've got left you could get past Tom, but P5 for Jax, I have to say, after what happened in France a few weeks ago, would be a decent result for him, and more points on the board as well. We thought he was in danger of losing his point streak earlier on, but he is back in this points fight and could be definitely be showing why he wants that full-time seat. I think he's going to get it sooner or later, because there's some people that have barely showed up to these races well, so he could be signed up to a seat permanently. We'll have to wait and see. But final few laps is where we start to see the tyres really start to be tested to the max here. Will these tyres go the distance, or will we see some front left punches or some rear punches from these drivers? We'll see depending on the speed, but I don't know at this point. I think the one to keep an eye on is Dino. If Dino gets a puncture, the front two are in trouble.
Yeah, and that puncture really would need to be coming on the next lap, and well, it has to be said, he has lost about a second on this lap, hasn't he, to Tom? So I wonder if he is now starting to realise that he's going to have to nurse those tyres, but we'll see. Let's say lap 33, if it goes on then for him, then yeah, the leaders will be a bit worried. But as he comes on the last corner, all looks good. The top two are not swapping positions at the minute, by the way. I mean, that might happen towards the end. But it does look very difficult for Legend to get the win just because of the ERS levels. He'd have to really have a good exit at the last corner. But, well, we'll find out if he can make any sort of moves soon. And, well, Jax, if he wants a chance at P4, there also needs to be a move pretty sharpish here on Dino, because Tom has made 2 seconds on Dino in the last sort of lap. And that gap will just keep growing, so Jax will be aware of that. And he'll try and get the move done. Will he maybe even do it into one of the chicanes? We saw him doing it at the start of the stint, but I'm sure the softs aren't feeling as nice as they were in the first couple of laps. And you can see he's not quite close enough as Dino gets onto the grass there, look. Is definitely feeling the pressure. But yeah, those tyres really do it. They're just going, don't they?
Yeah, it looks like it. I think we could. I think final lap puncture, that's my prediction for Dino. He can't avoid to be going on the curbs like that, because that is where people have punched in the past in certain tracks when their tyres are to the limit. So he's got to avoid the curbs, and just not push too much. Really, he's gonna lose P5 off to Jax, but there was no question Jax was gonna catch him up anyway. So Jax is up to 5th. CC Brain breezes past Dino as well, up to 6th. So the two of the soft runners making the alternate strategy work. Cohen is now on the soft tyres as well, but there's nothing that he can do unless he steals the fastest lap from someone who's getting points this race, and that will mean no one will get fastest lap points in this race. So at least he's got something to fight for as well. Penultimate lap of this race. Looks like Santry is favoured to win unless his tyres start to die too. I'm keeping an eye on Baraka at this stage. That's the man to watch out for. If the gap goes down quickly, then we know that the two are struggling, but we don't know at this point in time. I think Dino will be the one to say if he is struggling, but yeah, he's almost a second behind CC Brain now. That's how hard he's struggling at the moment. But if he keeps it on the road, Dino, and the medium runners at the front, they will get some decent results still, which will be decent, but surely they wanted to pretty much go onto the hards like Baraka and Tom did, but probably they will still potentially be in the same position as they were now, so I don't get why they didn't pick the hards, but I guess if they thought they could make it, they could. But final lap of this race, and Santry's looking on course to be getting a win. Hopefully this time for real and not by any penalties. As someone has grabbing a move. That's Nicolo actually. Is Dino's tyres starting to die now, because Nicolo's fresh mediums got past as well. CC Brain gets past Jax.
Oh, they're still fighting.
And he's going to fight for it into turn 3, which he does. Yeah, CC Brain is up into P5. Dino's dropped from 5th to 8th position. I'm just saying, is he got a rear punch? He does not. So he's still hanging in there, but Nicolo could be on for getting some decent points. So fair play. He's fallen under the radar, hasn't he, this race?
Well, he went for a different strategy, and it is working out for him. And it will deliver him some points. But are we finally going to see a win? Oh, he's in the wall.
No!
Well, that is a very odd one. I don't know why he's done that. Is his wheel disconnected? Who knows? But it will still be a first-time winner in the shape of Legend. And I was watching Santry. He just comes out of the corner and just takes a sharp left. So I'm wondering if he's
Must be a wheel
some
disconnect.
sort of wheel issue, but it's given Legend a very sort of unexpected victory as Baraka comes home second to massively increase his championship lead now, and Tom will come home to claim a second podium in a row. But what a bizarre incident. I mean, Santori, I didn't see a puncture on that car, and a puncture wouldn't send you that far left anyway. You know, you'd be able to control that, but for me, it looks like he's come out of the corner where Cohen is now, and his wheel's gone. Surely it's a wheel disconnect, because that is... You don't throw away a victory. You don't do that. That's not something that you are going to do. That's not his fault, surely. But regardless, it's given Legend a win, and it is still 5 different winners out of the first 5 races, and it is a second podium of the season, second points finish for Legend, and it's now up onto 26 points in the standings. So very nice for him. But what a bizarre ending to the race.
It was bizarre. He was looking quite comfortable, Santry, for the race win. We were not writing him off. We said, right, he's going to win the race, and then suddenly he hits the wall. But that means we're more than likely could be getting a 6th different winner next week in Austria. More than likely, actually, because Santry, he just doesn't have any luck with not getting race wins. He's up there, but he's gonna finish anyway, because you have to, I think, complete at least 90% or 95%, and he has. So his DNF won't be classified, but he will get a P12 anyway. But surely he wanted the win, and apparently Santry got a puncher. But I don't know. We'll find out from Santry in the chat as to what happened. We will have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, the results. Legend, the first win of the season for him, from Baraka, Tom, CC Brain, Jax, Nicolo, Devin, Dino, Ricky, Kryptonite, and Cohen. The DNFs, Santry, Pat, Asi, Yannick, Kazizzle, and Andrea. And Santry confirms it was a wheel disconnect, so that is what has cost him the victory tonight. What a shocker.
So it was not a puncher then. It was not a puncher. I'm just seeing in the chat as well the tyre life of all the drivers. Legend's tyres were 71% on the final lap, so that was close to 80. That was very, very close to it was puncher territory in the way, but he nursed the tyres home, and he probably was looking at. He saw what happened around him. He was like, no way was I going to win this race, and he crossed the line in probably disbelief. But that's going. I think I'm speechless at this point. I do not want to lose a win like that. He was looking so comfortable for the entirety of the race, looked like the win was his, and then whatever wheel he has decided to die on him. Hopefully his wheel gets fixed for next week, because otherwise he's going to be in quite a few trouble. And to be honest, I think quite a few people in the chat feel bad for Santry as well. I do. It's a bit of a shame. Still, we got a different winner, but Santry, I think, deserved that one. But to be fair, Legend was hot on his heels, so to be fair, it could have gone to either one of them today, but Legend is your race winner.
Yeah, it's not to take it away from Legend, because of course you've got to be there to take advantage when it goes wrong like that, but it's defining moments like that which can cost you championships, I suppose. And Santry, it's a 3rd win in a row that he could have had, so that's such a shame for him.
That is a shame, but we will hopefully get some of our drivers in for interviews, so we will ask that. But quite a few honourable mentions for driver of the day, I have to say. Nicolo, he looked like he was struggling on those hards, but he pitted onto mediums towards the end, and it worked. So he was very, very patient in terms of his strategy, and he got more points than he was probably expecting. So fair play to him as well, and obviously Legend with that race win as well. Tom for getting that podium, CC Brain and Jax for getting those softs, medium to soft strategy work to perfection as well for those two. So quite a lot of honourable mentions tonight, but yeah, I don't know. I think Nicolo was under the radar, but still sometimes you have to avoid the mistakes, and Nicolo hardly made any mistakes tonight, and he got some points out of it. But Legend won, and I think hopefully we'll speak to him, but I don't think he's in the waiting for interview chat. Who is your standout driver tonight?
I would say actually, maybe I would give it to CC Brain actually, because he stayed patient there, because he basically let Jax do all the hard work for him, which maybe doesn't sound all that impressive, but then he still had the tyre life to come through and take the position right at the end, which was really useful for him. It earned him a P4 spot, so I think you've got to say he's worth a mention too.
Yes, I think we're going to get at least 2 people in the interview box. We've got Tom, who finished in 3rd place, probably something he was not expecting. I think we'll do it in reverse order whilst we wait for the other 2 to join the interview box. So we've got our 3rd place man in the commentary booth. Tom, can you hear us?
Yeah, hello.
Hello, so you got the win a few weeks ago in France, but now you've topped that with another podium in 3rd place around the Hungary. You probably weren't expecting that, were you?
No, not at all. Not until the last lap, anyway.
Yeah, because it looked like you were going to get 4th position as well. How hard was it to be on? Because you on a different strategy compared to most other drivers. Were you confident that was the right strategy for you?
No, to be honest, I didn't really know what strategy was best. So I sort of just followed Baraka, hoping that he had the right strategy. And yeah, he didn't. It was definitely the worst strategy, but it worked out in the end.
Yeah, it did as well. Obviously, keeping up your consistent form as well. Talk us through the start you had as well. You were involved in quite a few battles, and you started quite low down as well. So, talk us through your thoughts through that start.
Well, I started P4, which wasn't bad.
Yeah.
And then I had a better start than Legend, so I got past him into turn 1. And I think there was a lot of contact behind, so I kind of avoided all that and came out P3, which was good, but yeah.
Now that you got an unexpected podium in your midst as well, are you still confident that you could chase down your nearest rivals in the championship? Because Valentin, don't forget, wasn't here tonight, so with that podium that you got as well, I believe 10 points, that will put you on 32 points. That will put you ahead of Valentin in the standings. How do you think you're going to hold on to keeping ahead of Valentin, or do you think Valentin will get back at you next week?
Well, maybe he'll get back at me, but I know he doesn't have the greatest consistency, because like he can, he doesn't finish every race, or like he can get penalties like in France and stuff like that. But yeah, him not being there today was sort of like a free position, I guess, and hopefully I can beat them over the course of the season, because from now on my aim is like just to finish every race, because I've realised that it's much better to get consistent points than to get like one big batch of points, because that's sort of what ruined me last season.
Yeah, definitely. Owen, any questions for our 3rd place man?
First of all, congratulations on the podium, and I've got to ask, how are you feeling about next week then? You've got Austria coming up. That one tends to promote some good racing, so how are you feeling towards that?
I'd say I quite enjoy Austria, but I know that like everyone's fast around Austria. It's like the closest track, and qualifying's going to be like very tight, so I'll just have to try and get the lap in, and a 10th could put me like 5 places difference, so it's all about that.
Alright, that's all I've got.
Brilliant. So we'll let you go and celebrate whilst we get our 1st place man in the interview room. Thank you very much, Tom, for joining us. So, Legend, our P1 man for today's race. Legend, can you hear us?
I can.
Oh, that is fantastic. You were probably saw Santry's crash in the final few corners, and you were right behind him as well up until that point. Take us through your reactions. Were you expecting that win?
No, I wasn't expecting it at all, because I gave up basically a lap before because Santero was pushing like crazy, and I wanted to save my tires because my tires were on 71 as well, and maybe it was a good thing to save my tires.
Yeah, it was as well. You were pretty much in battles throughout that race as well. How hard was it on the strategy you were on? Because you're on the mediums as well. I think I saw in the chat you're on 71%, I believe, as well. When you saw the tyre wear towards the end, were you a bit worried that you were going to crash or get a puncture?
Yes and no. That's why I pulled off the pace one lap before the end, and made it work. So I'm happy.
Yeah, very happy. Your second podium of the season as well. You got a podium in Silverstone, I believe, P3. So that will add to your points as well. Because you've had quite a few. You had 2 DNFs in a row as well. So this is kind of like a redemption race for you, isn't it? Certain people would probably give up by this point of the season. Obviously, Monaco is kind of similar to Hungary. Do you think that extra week helped you with the practicing a little bit?
No, because I didn't have my pedals working the whole week. I only got them to work I think 2 days ago. So I only had like 2 hours practice. So I wasn't expecting much. I just wanted to finish in the points, but a win is it's just incredible.
Fantastic. Owen, any questions?
Same thing as I asked Tom. First of all, well done on the victory, and how do you feel about Austria next week?
Austria, I think it's a pretty sweaty track, but I will try and do my best. It's usually a pretty okay track for me. If we can win that one again, then I'm happy as well.
Brilliant.
All right, well done.
Right, we will go and leave you with the champagne. Congratulations to Legend, our race winner, our 5th different race winner of the season. So that is it then for the Hungarian Grand Prix, and that is it for our action tonight. But there's still more action for the F1 side if you want to go and watch that. Owen, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, just be here next week. We have 5 different winners so far. 6. Will it be next week? Gotta be here.
Yeah, it's more than likely after we saw what will happen with Santry. We'll let you go and enjoy the F1 tier just now in the end of their qualifying session. And there's also the PC side starting their races in Austria this week. Have a good evening, everybody. We will see you next week for the Austrian Grand Prix. Goodbye.